Hey guys, I'm back to show the circle stud earring tutorial, and I'm going to use some 20 gauge copper wire and also some 26 gauge copper wire for this. Now you can use a 24, but the smaller the wire the better. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get out some beads here. I'm gonna use some really teeny magnesite with this copper so that it'll show up for you guys. Alright, so like that. Okay, so teeny little magnesite. What we're going to use. Alright, but here's what we're going to make. So I made these earlier. These are brass. I'm not going to show that in the tutorial. I'm not going to show brass because it is a harder metal to work with. It's not as malleable. So it's a bit trickier to work with, and I wanted to show you on something that you would be able to begin with. Something easier to bend. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our 20 gauge wire and we're going to cut. So you can do these on the spool actually. You can either cut about 2 inches of material off, or you can just do them on the spool. Alright, so we're going to cut flush. We're going to cut a flush cut. Let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. Flush cut. Alright. Now, if you watched my previous video, then you'll know how to do this. If you did not, you may want to go back and watch it again if you have no experience. So we're going to place it on the largest round bell making end of the plier, and we're going to rotate our hand all the way around, and we'll pull it all the way around until it touches itself. See if I can get this. I don't know why it's not focusing. Okay, so right here is what we have. There we go. So we're going to snip it off. We're going to leave ourselves a little bit of a tail to make sure we have the stud for the back. Now remember that all of this is part of the tail as well. So it's okay to cut a little bit extra, give yourself some room in there. Okay, and now I'm going to come in here just like so. I'm going to place my plier right in between the 2 pieces of wire where it's right on the tip of the cut. And I'm going to bend at a 90-degree bend. Okay. And then I'm just going to straighten out any kinks that I may have in the post of the earring at this point. And now I know for a fact that I need to cut some of that. And I just eyeball this. I really don't measure. I kind of like my back's a little, my stud back's a little shorter than most people. I just find that customers don't complain then if I do it a little bit shorter. So then you're going to take your earring, place it flat, holding the stud up against, or the post, that's the word I was looking for, the post flat up against the steel block. Okay. And you're going to take your hammer, flat side of your hammer, and you're going to hammer it flat. This is adding stability to the earring that we just created. I have a little bit of a funky curve in here, so I'm gonna try and correct that a bit. All right. That's okay. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to take a tiny bit of 26 gauge wire. There we go. I don't really like to measure, but I will for the purposes of the video, so excuse my dirty ruler. Anyway, 2 inches. Again, like I said, I say about because, you know, 2 1/4. Doesn't really matter as long as you get enough, but you're not, you know, wasteful. Unless you want to be wasteful, it's your metal, you know, whatever. Whatever floats your boat. Copper is very expensive right now, though, so I wouldn't recommend being wasteful with it. I actually recommend hoarding it right now so that you don't, you have plenty of stock, you know. Okay, so we wrapped. So we held, let me explain that better because I didn't explain it. Okay, so we held the wire across the frame, and on the side where the post was, we began to wrap around that side. We don't wrap around this side first because this is the open side, and if we put pressure on this side, then it will distort our frame. It'll misshapen it. So I do 3 coils. You can do as many as you like. Once I design something, I set the design and I kind of stick with it. I do have variations in my designs, but when I'm producing these for storefront locations, I just have a standard that I do for all of them just to make it easy on myself. Okay, so then we're going to tuck the tail, so we're going to come in with our plier on that tail. We're going to hold tight, we're going to squeeze, and then we're going to twist. Okay, and that'll give you a nice tucked tail. You're going to take your finger in there and just rub and make sure you can't feel anything. You're also going to go in and look at the side and see if that tail is sticking out. As long as it's flush, then you're good. I do see that the tail is kind of sticking a bit funky, so I'm just going to go in there and squeeze. All right, so at this point I want to make sure that my wire is where I want it. Now on these you can come down to the bottom and you can kind of make a bowing effect at the bottom. Really pretty. You can run straight across like so. I'm going to, just for the sake of showing you, I'm going to show you the bowing effect, since I have a sample of the regular centered. You can even come in and do something funky and come across like this. Like that. But I'm going to show you the bowed effect. So I'm going to come in here with my plier and I'm going to straighten out any kinks in the wire. Okay, and then I'm going to drop some of these turquoise beads on. And I'm probably going to do 3 depending on whether or not our frame can hold 3. These are 2 millimeters, so they're teeny tiny. Sometimes a frame can't hold 3. It really depends on the size you're using. And if you bow, then it can hold a little bit more than it normally would. Okay, so that was the bowing effect. If you've noticed, I pushed down on this wire wrap, and now I'm going to come in here, I'm going to hold really tight with my thumb and I'm going to pull really tight. I'm going to pull the wire through really tight on this side. Whoops, I don't even have it through. Okay, I'm going to make sure I put it through this time. And I'm going to pull really tight. I don't want to have any funky buckling of the wire in there. I'm just going to go around really tight. I'm going to squeeze the coil together, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to snip flush yet again, really tight flush. I keep going out of focus because it's so tiny. Okay, and then I'm going to tuck the tail again. Okay. I'm going to pull that bow out. I'm going to tighten everything up nice and neat. This coil kind of got a little distorted here. So I'm just going to tighten it all up. Sometimes it takes a lot of tweaking. I find the smaller the product, the more tweaking it requires. And it can be a little frustrating. But you just kind of just keep at it until you have it the way you like it, until it looks nice and neat, until you know that a customer would be satisfied with the product. Just, you know, tighten it up, tweak it up. Or, you know, until you're satisfied, because you may be keeping it for yourself. Okay, so I tightened this side up, and then I realized that it was this side that kind of got squished. It's kind of reminiscent, to me, I don't know, it's kind of reminiscent of a peace sign. So anyway, that is how you make those. I'm going to go ahead and finish the other one off camera, and I will show you a picture of them together at the end of this video. It is late summer in Georgia, and it is hot, and I have the air off so that you guys don't have to listen to the air conditioner. So anyway, have fun, keep creating, guys. And if you're having trouble creating this circle, this loop, go back and watch my last tutorial, basic wire looping. Thank you guys. Keep creating. Hey guys, I want to come back on and show real quick. I forgot to show that to sand the stud. So when I go to cut my second one, I always line them up together. And I showed that in the last video. I line them up in my fingers like this. And then I'll double check by placing them like this once I've got it. Once I've got them cut, to make sure that they're the same. And then I just take a sanding block. This is just a drywall sanding block. And I just sand the tip off, so that it doesn't poke and jab as you're sticking it in your ear. Alright, and then one more thing I wanted to show, because I completely forgot. You know, that the majority of people, especially if you're starting out, don't own these guys. So what you can do is you can take anything. For my classes, I provide wooden dowels for my students. When I started doing this, I started on Sharpies. And these are the clay sculpting kit. It comes in a 3-pack from the Dollar Tree. This would be really good too. If you don't want to, I mean, I think the wooden dowels are only a couple cents, but if you want to have something multi-purpose, I bought these not for clay, but to add texture to my metal pieces, when I'm doing things like leaves and flowers and stuff. There's different shapes. There's 3 different ones. And of course you can order a nicer set and use that as well, but it is a bit, so you'll want to pay attention to how big your round object is, because that's going to change. And this is a good size for studs, is what I found. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Let me show you real quick what I would do if I were, instead of using a tool, because you can't use your wrist when you're using this. So you're gonna cut flush again. Always cut flush. Always start with a flushed piece of wire. That one didn't want to cut. I must have a nick in my tool. Anyway, so what you're gonna do, because you can't twist your wrist like you would. So what you're gonna do with this is we're gonna break my rule of starting at the tip, and we're going to fold this all the way around as tight as we can get it, and we're gonna hold tight as we twirl it around the rod, like so. Take it out. Now here is the difference. Cut a tail a bit longer than we did on the last one, and we're going to come in here and we're just going to cut that little tag off that doesn't want to behave right. Okay, so we still have enough of a tag right in here to come in here and bend that post. And then if you can see, it looks no different than the ones that we made with the bell making pliers. Again, these are bell making pliers. They are from Beadsmith. I'm sure there's other companies that make them. You can buy them at Hobby Lobby, and I think Michael's has them as well. I would recommend using your coupon for them because they are rather expensive. So that's that. Sorry to add to the video again, guys. Have fun and keep creating.